see how they play this PvP out. As a reminder, it is, of course, going to be a best of 5, and I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit worried. I'm quickly scanning chat right now. Have you seen, is Fernando here? It looks like he is not. Funado Fernando.
Oh.
For those wondering, he is the biggest Pacomike fan, and Pacomike has been missing for the past couple of months, but finally, he's back.
Everybody at Fernando, if you can, try to get him here. But regardless, we are going to be kicking off our best of 5 PvP here on 2000 Atmospheres. LE, we're in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner. We have a pink Protoss player playing, I believe he's still in Korea right now, if I'm mistaken. Regardless, he is going to be representing Poland as well as Genesis Gaming. We have ArT.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the best Protoss player in all of Latino America representing Infernales Esports. It is Pacomike.
A long-awaited return.
Massive shout out to Yoda Slim in the chat. Of course, when we're casting Pacomike, Yoda shows up.
Great to see you, Yoda.
Yeah, look away, mate. Look away. Oh god. So Pacomike was messaging me before this series started, and he was like, "Oh mate, I'm gonna get wrecked." He's like, "Mate, I haven't been playing StarCraft for the past 2 months, mate. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready." And that triggered my memory. Yes, like, for the past couple of months in Copa Hyperion, Sentimiento Latino, Battle of the Americas, all of our weekly online tournaments that we have for Latin America, Pacomike has been missing. He hasn't been there. If you're wondering, he has, started working full-time as well as many other players have, and he just hasn't had the drive or the opportunity to play too much StarCraft.
Somehow, though, throughout the 2021 season,
he
has been able to accrue enough OSC points because he has just been playing a lot of these online events before, before he kind of had to stop.
Exactly. Like, it's important to note that those 2 months, like, that's an exception to the rule, right? He has been very active throughout all of 2021. It's just recently, December, November, that he has been inactive, which is, to be fair, what a lot of players do after the DreamHack season ends, so I don't blame him, but it does mean that he is rusty coming into this PvP, and this may affect his playstyle as well. If he's out of practice, he may just throw caution to the wind and just send it,
That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Early fleet beacon straight into Tempest. Let's go, Pacomike.
I would hope that he approaches the series and he has fun with it. He enjoys himself, Sometimes it can be hard in a matchup that you're not the best at, but, again, maybe he can find some success. Meanwhile, we've been talking a lot about Pacomike, but on the flip side of things, we're also very familiar with ArT. Surprisingly, he's one of the few players who, as you pointed out in the beginning, actually has gone to Korea in 2021.
Yeah, one of the very few foreign players. It's always a treat to catch him in ESL Asia, and mostly ESL Asia is where I'm familiar casting him from.
Yeah, exactly. So for those who don't know, he did travel to Korea to practice, to train, and to improve. Obviously, he had to come back due to his visa running out, so I believe he is back in Europe. But he did spend a decent amount of time there in Korea practicing, and it's, again, not something that too many players do anymore. He wasn't a part of a team house or anything like that,
Yeah, all on his own there. You gotta admire that drive.
Definitely. And I think it has shown, right? I think 2021 was his best year when it comes to DreamHack performance. Obviously, he's still an up-and-comer when it comes to the European Protosses, but, he is definitely someone who I would keep an eye on for 2022.
Yeah, and I'm still keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
As we continue on the series, it looks like, for the most part, they do just want to test the waters a little bit, but ArT is being a little bit cheeky with how he approaches his Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, speaking of Blink Stalkers, we have Shaded Adepts coming into the main base here for Pacomike, dealing a decent amount of probe damage, not gonna lie. 4 probes go down, he gets a scout of the main base. Should recognize that there's a couple of things missing, because again, ArT does have a 3rd gateway out on the map. He's looking to stay on 2 bases for the time being and make nothing but Stalkers.
The lack of a 2nd pylon back home should be a tip-off, but apparently not enough of one, as Pacomike does throw down that 3rd bait. I think that just kills him.
I think
honestly.
He's got a Forge on the way with +1, which is great, but +1 is not going to come into play. He scattered, he saw that, hey, you know, there is no Forge, there's no Robo, there's things that aren't quite lining up here, but it didn't really recognize, and now we see a blink into the main.
These are the only 2 production buildings right now for Pacomike, and he's already outnumbered here. Yeah, no, I think that's their base.
GG
is called.
Gets
and ArT takes game number 1, punishing the greed of Pacomike, as he should.
Yeah. I'm shocked, mate. Pacomike just chilling, staying back, getting up to 3 bases. Like, he was attempting to scout his opponent. Attempting is the key word. Obviously, he did miss a couple of crucial things. Didn't really, I guess, didn't have eyes on that 3rd base to recognize, hey, there's no 3rd on the way from ArT. There's no tech either. He's got to be spending resources somewhere, right? Didn't recognize that there was a proxy out on the map, and I killed him.
Yeah. Well, I guess that does come back to, you know, his general rust levels right now, and being a little bit out of practice. I can totally understand, right, going a little bit on autopilot when you scout like that.
Definitely. It can happen. It can happen. It's something that, you know, you've got to be very, very aware of, you know, not just scouting, but also recognizing what it is you're seeing, and also what you're not seeing as well. But we'll see if he approaches this differently in some of these other maps, because again, PvP is something that can be very volatile, very versatile, and there can be a lot of cheeky stuff that you can do here.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that does wake him up a little bit here, and we don't see another one-sided game, or we don't see any more one-sided games as our series continues. Again, I just want to see this go the entire distance, because we don't get to see ArT and Pacomike against each other too often. In particular,
I think this may be the first time they're playing, mate. I mean,
it's very possible. As we continue our series on Berlin in Grad LE, we're in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a pink Protoss player currently playing from Poland, representing Poland as well as Genesis Gaming. We have ArT.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Berlingrad LE, we have the Mexican Protoss player. He is blue, representing Infernales Esports, coming back from a bit of a hiatus. Can he make a series out of this? It is Pacomike.
So I'm just keeping my eyes glued to that production tab right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would be disappointed if we don't at least once see a double Stargate PvP from Pacomike in particular. If ArT decides to reciprocate that, I'd be more than happy to watch it go down. But
you want to see Phoenix versus Phoenix, mate?
Yeah.
Oh god. Did you get enough of that? Didn't we cast that a couple of days ago in ESL Asia?
We did.
You're like, I want more, mate.
I've seen the ways of the Rotterdam.
Oh god, we'll see.
I've seen the light, the Phoenix light.
We'll see if we get that rare treat in PvP. But yeah, what I was gonna say is that I agree with Yoda in the chat. Yoda was like, "Yo, ¿dónde está el queso, mate? Where's the cheese? Where is it?" That's a good question. It's not here, not yet.
But soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we're only in game 2, right? Players just want to test the waters a little bit, sort of suss out or get a little bit of a feeling of how their opponents play. Because again, this is not a matchup we see too often. ArT on one side of the globe, not particularly playing in the same tournaments as Pacomike.
Yeah, that's like the great thing about global events, right? You don't see them too often. That's why people get so excited about things like King of Battles or TSL, or things like the OSC Championship. It brings together all these players from different regions and has them duke it out. You know, when was the last time you saw Beyond play against Radita, for example?
A couple minutes ago.
Before that, I guess. God damn it, Yaku.
Do apologize for that, but I do not apologize for a Stargate coming out from Pacomike.
There we go.
Throw on that fleet beacon before. Throw on that fleet beacon after that. Come on, you know you want to.
Do you want him to lose, man?
You want Pacomike.
Oh my god.
I don't want to throw it down.
But yeah, I love it. You know, he's opting to go be a little bit more aggressive here. Pacomike does delay his natural base for this tech a little bit more than ArT, but ArT is going across the map with a hallucination. He should spot this. He should scout the tech.
Yeah, he's well aware that a real Oracle is coming his way. Should be seeing more stalkers. Should be seeing more stalkers warped in to try to deal with that.
Yep, ArT, he's going to be in position to protect his base. I wouldn't be surprised if he even, I don't know, throws down a shield battery as well, which will out-heal the DPS of an Oracle. So there's a lot available here for ArT after scouting this, and I appreciate that Pacomike doesn't commit too hard into the Sky Toss. He just makes his initial Oracle and then starts the rest of his tech.
A little disappointing, but I do too. I do appreciate that after getting scouted, he doesn't commit to a style that ArT is already working to counter. Oracle in a lot of trouble. One more volley does not land. So at least Pacomike will be able to utilize this Oracle later on, but yeah, that's not the start that he really wanted in this Berlingrad game.
Yeah, shout out to ArT. He actually had a probe on hold position as well on top of the ramp. So the Adepts wanted to get into the main base. They wanted to get into a mineral line, but they were denied. They still got some worker damage, but not as much as they wanted. At least Pacomike was able to keep those Adepts alive so he can try and test the waters later on, but he has also kind of revealed his hand.
Well, in a sense. So let's know that Pacomike is going for a transition to ground toss. Actually going to be able to get +1 weapons quite a bit sooner than ArT.
Oh yeah, the forged timing was so much faster. I was thinking faster in my mind. But
faster forge. I get it, yeah. A forge.
Meanwhile, the Haluk does come in and it will confirm all of the tech, all of the timing of that forge as well. So ArT is going to be well aware of the fact that his Stalkers are going to be that much weaker compared to Pacomike.
Yeah, I would be a little bit surprised if he decides to be aggressive from this position, but he knows that he will at least get Blink quite a bit sooner, so he might just try to shave off units here and there of Pacomike. Starting with this Oracle, but he still doesn't get it.
Oh god, he wants it. He wants it so bad. He's trying to intercept. Is he going to catch it? Looks like he shouldn't. Pacomike just barely escapes with that Oracle.
And even has enough energy to cover his bases around a couple of stasis wards. He's still very badly outnumbered, even with +1.
Oh god!
I think ArT should have enough to make up for that. Only 2 Stalkers get caught in that stasis ward, and the other stasis ward gets triggered without anything being caught. This is a fantastic start for ArT's engagement.
Yeah, that was some nice micro there by ArT, able to bait out one of those stasis traps with his Stalkers. I'm sure he wanted to try and go for a kill move and maybe even push into the natural or into the main, but he was slowed down, so instead he's going to try and settle for this third base instead. Meanwhile, Pacomike, he's coming in. He does have +1.
Still 2 Stalkers trapped in stasis. All right. And we have reached a point where Pacomike was able to get more warp-ins going. He was able to set up more of a defense as well, so ArT is going to have to be satisfied with just containing Pacomike for the time being, which he should be.
Yeah, 100%. Like, he didn't just contain his opponent, he was also able to stop any kind of timing that Pacomike wanted to go for, any kind of aggression that he wanted to go for with that upgrade advantage, and a little bit of miscontrol, Pacomike ends up losing his Oracle.
Finally. Should have been dead right from the start, but it was a little crafty, Oracle. He's even able to help a couple of stasis wards, which ArT shouldn't have to worry about for the rest of the game, really.
Yeah. I mean, they will finally expire. They did they did what they needed to do, right? At least Pacomike was able to hold it as natural. There's a world where maybe ArT forces his way in and maybe even ends the game. If it wasn't for things like that, so at least Pacomike holds on, and now he's got something else up his sleeve.
Something very, very different. That Dark Shrine is about to finish up. ArT does have a robo facility, but is favoring a Warp Prism over observers for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, he does have one observer with his army, which is a little bit worrisome, but there's only one observer on the map, so the DTs could sneak into one of these bases, but we already have a cannon at the natural as well, so there's not a lot of room for these DTs to deal too much damage.
Unless they get Blink, which they won't. He doesn't have to gas for it. But a man can dream, you know?
A man can dream. We can dream, and we'll see. I mean, the DTs, they can maybe at least deny this fourth base, which is honestly pretty huge. The army's completely out of position. So in this way, the DTs are going to end up paying for themselves. But now we have to focus on that main army, right? ArT, he's getting ready. He's outside the third base. But Pacomike is about to finish +2. Uh-oh.
Yeah, we'll have a little bit of a window of opportunity where he does have the better upgrades. I still think ArT has a better army, though.
I mean, ArT can...
with these Archons coming in from the flank.
Mate, he completely outpositions the army of Pacomike. Nice snipe on that War Prism, so now we don't see any more reinforcements from ArT, but the Zealots get into the mineral line.
They do get into the mineral line, as Pacomike does get a lot of shots off on the Stalker army of ArT. Are a little bit distracted by the DTs back at home. Wasn't quite able to... quite able to target as effectively as he wanted to.
Yeah.
But he has dealt a lot of economic damage, at least.
We're in a really interesting place now, where at least Pacomike, as you said, was able to deny that base. He was able to defend overall, but I am worried about the armies, like the quality of the army. ArT, he's got Charge, he's got Archons. Meanwhile, Pacomike doesn't have a way to reinforce his army. He opted not to go for that War Prism.
Yeah, I really don't think he should fight from here, but he's gonna try, see what he can get away with. At the very least, maybe take out a key unit or two, like one of these Archons, but yeah, there's just no way he can.
Oh, but the DTs actually take down the cannon!
Oh, yeah, there's not gonna be any vision. Okay, never mind. Yes, that observer.
Yeah, the observer...
But still, very limited detection here.
Yeah, the observer does get recalled, so forces the recall of the DTs. But at least Pacomike was able to get a couple more probe kills.
Yeah, keeping one another down when it comes to the economy. Still want to give the advantage to ArT here, but Pacomike is not that far behind.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that he's delayed this fourth base for so long. Like, we saw a cancel on the fourth Nexus of ArT earlier, so we should have seen a fourth up for Pacomike. Well, he's got more than enough minerals for it. There we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, now we know why he's delaying the fourth base, as Blink DTs are on the way, but yeah, he was banking up a lot of minerals for a while, wasn't he?
He still is. Maybe. I mean, he's still working on some production as well, so he can get those warp-in cycles. But I'm just a little bit concerned because, again, ArT's army is still looking a little bit superior with 4 Archons compared to the 2 of Pacomike.
Plus a whole bunch of Zealots to buffer. 2 Archons, they can do a lot to thin out the Zealots, what their splash damage, but there in the back, it's honestly not that threatening right now for ArT.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, Pacomike is looking for that fight. Upgrades are equal right now. He's going to try and push up this ramp. Maybe not the best idea. Oh.
You can really tell that ArT was trying to target down one of those Archons, but does get a Stalker instead. Not a bad pick-off, but he has his eyes on the prize, so to speak.
Yeah.
He wants something here.
Well, the prize was that fourth base. Meanwhile, the Disruptor comes out. Oh my god, it goes off!
That Disruptor got sniped just before the Purification Nova could hit. But honestly, I'm not convinced that Purification Nova would have hit anything. That was such a clutch split there right at the end from ArT. Yeah,
the blink was insane. Meanwhile, we see another Disruptor a little bit exposed, but finally the army does come to cover it. And what I was about to say is that ArT, what he's been doing is just starving Pacomike out. He just does not let Pacomike get a fourth.
And he really needs one soon. does still have a little bit of a bank to work with, but again, his
God.
mining is about to run out. The Disruptor, uber exposed, gets picked off before it can even throw down a Purification Nova, and ArT does force a battery overcharge now.
Mate.
Honestly, if he just waits this out, he can go for the kill move immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's 2 disruptors gone for nothing. Not a single Nova has landed yet. Pacomike, he's trying to get a couple more up and running, but, like, look at the supply. Like, ArT, with his superior economy, he's just overwhelming whatever Pacomike has and just out-positioning as well.
Yeah, we see why ArT is the player who's playing instead of... We see why ArT is competing instead of me, because he is doing the much smarter and much safer option of making sure he's not taking any unnecessary risks right now.
Oh my god, the target...
Scarf out Pacomike as much as possible and outmaneuver him into a better concave on the high ground.
Mates, every single disruptor's been sniped. It's been insane. The DTs are coming in to try and clean everything up, but in comes the detection. GG gets called, and ArT takes game number 2.
He's now on match point. One more map and he advances to his next Protoss opponent, whatever that may be. And Pacomike has got to be feeling at least a little bit desperate now.
I mean, that was a much better game from Pacomike, but as we saw, like, his 4th base was so late, and because it was so late, by the time he was trying to get it, like, ArT was just in his face, constantly denying it time and time again. And even though we talk about disruptors a lot, they're a great comeback mechanic. They can get a lot of value if they connect with their Novas. And we saw, I think in the end, 5 or 6 disruptors were sniped and not a single Nova got off. It was insane. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, that's just kind of the duality of disruptors, isn't it? It can be the deadliest, most fearsome unit in the game, completely turning a loss game into a 1-1. Or they could be dead supply.
Yep.
Do nothing.
Oh god. Yeah, it's gonna be brutal, mate. It's gonna be, I don't know. Pacomike, he's got to do something crazy here in game number 3. Playing standard can be a little bit difficult. To be fair, that was Berlingrad, and because that map is so small and so consolidated, you can have a lot of pressure from your opponent, and it can be difficult to expand. So maybe on a larger map, Pacomike can find a little bit more success.
What I'm hearing right now is he should go Proxy Tempest.
That's not what I said at all.
Right. He should go early Tempest.
Oh my
and build
God.
them back at home.
Oh no.
Cease to get him.
You know, maybe some fast carriers. Maybe that's on the table here. No. Clearly, though, Pacomike has to approach this a little bit differently, right? If he wants to fight back and hopefully make a series out of this. Hopefully, we don't see just a 3-0, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. I'm having a vague memory of a copy pass I may or may not have made for Pacomike. Way back in the day. I remember it involved a Fleet Beacon somehow.
And I'm pretty sure you did. It's something in the depths of my mind is being triggered by that. I'm pretty sure you made a copy pass, though.
Just remember Darking being very upset with what I came up with, but... We are going to continue our series on Glittering Ashes LE. We're in the top right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the top right-hand corner. We have a pink Polish Protoss player coming down from the land of Poland. He is going to be representing Genesis Gaming, and he needs just one more win to advance to the next round. He is ArT.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE, we have the Mexican Protoss player representing Infernales Esports, currently down 0-2 in this series, but not out. It is Pacomike.
And as much as I may meme about the Fleet Beacon coming out from Pacomike, yeah, I would have to agree with you. That's probably not the wisest build he can go for when his opponent's on match point.
Yeah. I mean, it would be out of left field, And because this map is so large, you know, maybe you can afford to proxy something like that and keep it hidden. But we'll see. We'll see. So far, everything has been pretty standard, and so far, everything has been built at home for both players.
Yeah, no real need to give away the game this early on, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be too surprised if one of our players at least throws down a bit more of a forward pylon, just as a reinforcement point later on in the game, because of how large this map is, but again, that's for much later.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that from ArT in game number 1, right? With his 3-gate aggression that snowballed into a massive win. Not necessarily saying he'd do the same here, but we have seen that before, you know, like hidden gateways at the third base location, or even like hidden stargates as well. But again, so far, both players are just chilling with their probes. Sure, they're scouting each other, they're keeping an eye on each other. That's kind of it so far.
Yeah, I don't want to, again, just take any unnecessary risks when you're either at risk of going down to the lower bracket or about to win.
Yeah. Again, massive shout out to Pacomike for again qualifying for the OSC Season 9 Championship and being here and being a part of this. Fun fact. Ryu was also actually he qualified for this due to his performance this year as well. But you know this as well as I, that unfortunately he's unavailable at the moment. Feels bad. Otherwise he could have been here.
Yeah. And Pacomike could have had a matchup that he actually enjoys.
True. For those wondering, Ryu, of course, is one of our Ducklings. He's one of our players, and he has found a lot of success in the Latin American scene this year. Last year, I should say. But he's on holiday.
It's 2022.
Yes. But he's on holiday at the
moment.
moment,
To get used to that.
He won't even be playing in Duckling Showdown, unfortunately. Uh-oh.
Yeah, which we'll get into a little bit later on. ArT, before the game even starts, finds a little bit of an advantage here in the micro battle, or I guess just the Stalker skirmish.
Yeah, ArT shoots first. Like, Pacomike is punished for the fact that he split up 4 of his Stalkers 2 by 2, and just like that, ArT is able to catch them, deals a lot of damage. He has to be careful though, otherwise he himself will get sandwiched.
Just like so. Not quite able to get the body blocking in place, but he is at least able to inch ever so closely forward.
Beautiful.
To start turning the tables on ArT. We mentioned it earlier on, but this time Pacomike is a player who wants to have more of a forward pylon. He is a player who wants to keep up the pressure with his Stalkers very, very early on.
Exactly, he has to be a little bit careful. He does warp in 2 more Stalkers across the map to help reinforce, but with the defender's advantage, with Shield Battery, Overcharge, and Sentries for Force Fields, Pacomike has to be careful not to overextend.
Which thankfully he isn't, but at the same time he's also kind of letting go of the pressure on ArT right now.
Yeah, in the end, he will back off. And I mean, to be fair, you could argue that he forced a response and he forced resources invested into static defense and ArT to take a more defensive position. But what's scary is the follow-up, because ArT already has Blink on the way. As soon as that's done, ArT, he's going to be feeling confident enough to start moving out and deal some damage.
Deal a whole lot of damage. I'm getting flashbacks back to game number 1. That was 2000 Atmospheres, wasn't it? That game ended so quickly.
It did.
I barely remember much details, but what I do remember is ArT blinking into the main and bullying blinkless Stalkers from there.
I mean, that's why these adepts are honestly so important right now, is Pacomike, he's confirming that the army is still at home, and he's making sure that it stays that way. Meanwhile, he's one being a little bit sneaky. Sure, his blink may be late, but he does have a Dark Shrine on the way, and ooh, just barely the pylon gets up. Uh-oh.
Yeah, preventing a lot of scouting here, but there's nothing back at home to really defend against these adepts. Pacomike will lose a lot of probes before those adepts get dealt with.
Oh god, again, Pacomike punished for his army positioning. He had all of his Stalkers out in the middle of the map, again, trying to contain ArT, when really those Stalkers were doing nothing in the middle of the map, and he lost 6 probes as a result. But the Dark Shrine has still gone unscattered.
The second great equalizer for PvP, but not if you get an observer out. ArT is taking a very defensive position here. He's already sort of recognized that Pacomike isn't letting up any of the pressure, so yeah, he's keeping things safe for the time being.
Yeah, this does mean that, of course, the DTs have to be very careful. We have the Observer with the main army. Forge is on the way, so we could see potentially a cannon at the natural. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one there, to be honest. So, like, the time for these DTs, like, he's gonna make something happen with them soon. Uh-oh.
Yes, he gets scouted by the Haluked Phoenix. That's a little unfortunate here.
Yeah, just a little bit. The pylon will get cleaned up. DTs are on the way towards the natural base. We do not have a cannon, and it looks like the DTs will avoid the detection. They will.
Yeah, for now.
Ah.
Sort notices that he's missing a couple of probes here. He'll be able to deal with them accordingly.
Yeah, 6 probes go down for now. Another DT goes slips into the main base, does scat everything in the main, and even more probes are falling.
Alright, just like that, Pacomike gets a little bit of a worker lead, but at what cost? Because there's still this massive Stalker Immortal army to deal with.
This is the biggest problem. Like, for Pacomike to tech into DTs like this, into this Dark Shrine, his Robo is incredibly late. So without that Robo, he doesn't have a War Prism to reinforce if he wants to be aggressive, but more importantly, he doesn't have any Immortals as the backbone of his army, unlike ArT, who already has 2 of them.
Yeah, a little worried with their positioning, but considering the army supply difference, I really don't think it's going to make too much of a difference here. Pacomike engages, tries to, realizes he can't win, backs away.
Exactly, now he's on the ropes here, almost loses one of his Stalkers. At least oh god, he almost gets surrounded! As the 2 armies do pass by each other.
Like so. Pass by each other once again, but again, just looking at the numbers, one player's army looks larger than the others. I'm bad at math, though. I can't confirm that.
I mean, this is great. Pacomike forces a recall. I was about to say that if ArT attacks now, Pacomike's just dead. He will just fall over and die. But Pacomike, with his army position, does force the recall, does force ArT all the way back home.
Well, ArT definitely deciding that he doesn't need to take any unnecessary risks. Sure, he could try to engage a base race, but he knows he can win this game as long as Pacomike is never able to get ahead. So he may as well.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where ArT is catching up when it comes to the workers. This is a lot of Stalkers that was kind of thrown away as well, so that hurts the army supply even further for Pacomike. What do we have at home? We have that 1 Immortal, we have a couple of Archons, we have Overcharge, but again, like, he does have a massive supply disadvantage.
Well, I think he has enough to deal with 1 wave of Protoss, but not reinforcements. Shield Battery actually gets sniped immediately before the fight begins. We have a lot of Archons from the side of Pacomike, but the Zealots have already been dealt with. This is going to look like a 3-0.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sure, he kills all the Immortals. The boys are being pulled as well, but there are just so many Stalkers. There's so much Polish Protoss on the field. Pacomike, he comes around with the reinforcements, but, mate, it's not going to be enough.
Not at all. You gotta remember, ArT has reinforcements as well. GG is called. He takes that series 3-0. I was gonna say very clean PvP, but mostly a very convincing display from ArT. Pacomike, he said from the start he's a little bit rusty, and it definitely did show, but regardless, I think ArT played that as well, or Pacomike played that as well as he could, and ArT played that as cleanly as one can really expect.
Yeah, I mean, game 1 was rough. You even talked about it during this game. Like, game 1 was a rough game, but, you know, Pacomike was able to slowly shake the rust off over the course of this series, and he did look better in game 2 and game 3. There were moments there where he was getting damage done, and he was, you know, looking a little bit impressive there. But again, it is a Pacomike who is out of practice, and has been focusing on more IRL commitments instead of StarCraft for the past couple of months. So, yeah, not the best showing from him, but hopefully not the last showing. Hopefully we get to see more of him, and this is like the start of his comeback in 2022.
Here's definitely hoping. I'd love to see more of Pacomike throughout the year, if for no other reason than he is that sole torchbearer of Latin American Protoss players.
Yeah. I mean,
what I want to know, did we manage to wake up Fernandoc for the series?
That's a good question. I was about to say, like, yo, if we don't have Pacomike, who are we gonna look for as Protoss in Latin America? Who, Cristiano? Is that are we are we really stooping to that level? Is that what's happening right now? We love you, Cristiano. We love
Cristiano, yeah.
Oh god, shaking my head. But yes, massive shout out to ArT. We were talking about him as well. We were talking about how he's been training and practicing in Korea, how last year was his best performance in DreamHack, and how he is an up-and-coming player, a young player that you should be keeping an eye on this year in DreamHack for Europe.
Yeah, 2021 was his best result yet, and he does not show any signs of slowing down. 2022. That's what we got to look for.
Yeah, definitely. So we wish him the best, not just there, but also in this bracket, because he will move on to face another Protoss player. Meanwhile, I just realized we need to hop on over to Europe.
Oh, yeah, that's right.